welcome back to Sister's Kitchen. Today we're going to make whiskey chocolates. It's quick, it's easy, and as you can see, it's very few ingredients. So let's get cooking. So first, we're going to start by taking this bar of chocolate. You can use Baker's Secret as well. You do not have to use the Ghirardelli. This is just what I've gotten either on sale or for personal preference. So we're going to start with this bar. We're going to take it and we're just going to break it up by hand into small little chunks. And I'm breaking it over the bowl just to make sure I keep all the tiny little chocolate pieces in there. After we've crunched all that up, we're going to cut off 1 tablespoon of butter. And the reason we're putting butter in this recipe is when this mixture cures, it'll set up better inside the truffle, and it makes sure that the filling, when you bite into it, doesn't squeeze out like some liquor-filled chocolates. Now, I'm going to get this over the double broiler, and I will bring you over for that and just kind of explain a little bit about how the double broiler works. So, in my saucepan for the double boiler method, it's usually a special pan that's 2 pans stacked. You put water in the bottom one, just enough that it's about 1 inch or 2 above. And because I don't have a double boiler, I'm going to use the basically kind of like the kitchen hack way. You use a metal bowl and you put it over there and you put this on a medium heat. And basically what we're looking for is, as you can see, there's butter and chocolate over there. What we're looking for is basically to melt the chocolate and the butter to the point where you don't have any visible butter, but the chocolate's still slightly lumpy. From there, we're gonna pull it off the heat and then we'll add in our liquor. While that's heating up, you can prep your whiskey. So in this glass is 3 tablespoons of whiskey, Crown Royal Blackberry. I have used Sinfire cinnamon, which is really good, and I've used Screwball peanut butter. All good flavors that go with chocolate. This original recipe says to use Jameson, but you could use whatever whiskey you prefer. So while the chocolate's melting, you want to make sure that with your double broiler, if you're using this method, that you have an oven mitt to prevent your hand from being burned, and that you continuously stir your chocolate to get your melted butter or your cold butter to melt, and that you also ensure there's no hot spots where you could have potentially burning chocolate. And the reason we use the double broiler is because everything melts by steam instead of direct heat. Otherwise, the chances of burning your chocolate would become a lot higher. And I know it may seem tempting, but do not turn up the heat. Let it melt over a simmering heat. That way, basically you're tempering the chocolate. So you want to make sure that you're properly melting your chocolate. Now that our chocolate has mostly melted and our butter has mostly melted, we just want to stir to get out any more of the lumps of chocolate, because sometimes if you have bigger pieces, it doesn't all melt. But you just kind of want to stir it around. As you can see, I'm still using a hot pad because this is still slightly hot. I also have a hot pad under here because the bowl is warm. Next, I'm going to take my whiskey and pour it in. And as you see, it's gonna look really curled. I promise you, as you stir it in, it's going to become creamy and smooth. And honestly, the smell right now is incredible. It smells like summertime blackberries dipped in chocolate. I really wish you guys could smell this. Make sure you get the sides so all that chocolate becomes incorporated with it. As you can see, it's become nice and smooth again. Now that my bowl has cooled, I'm going to take, usually I have a piping bag in here, but I have run out because I made these the other day. I'm going to take this and pour this into this Ziploc bag. I used a quart size to make it easier for later. Just pour it on it. And it really helps when you have a spatula, because that way you can scrape all of it down inside the bag. And now I'm kind of manipulate it down to the corner. And kind of twist it, and I'm going to put it in the fridge for about 10 to 12 minutes so it firms up to about a tomato soup consistency. And now, since we've done our filling, sorry, it's in the fridge right now. Since we've done our filling, now it's time for the outer coating. We only need half this package. This is 24 and we only need 12. So I'm going to break it in half. Ta-da! I'm going to save half in a bag so we can make a second batch later if we want. In case anyone's wondering, this chocolate smells like Easter chocolate. That kind of sweeter, chalkier milk chocolate. I don't know else how to describe it. It's literally a candy coating, so it's gonna have that flavor until it's been melted down and turned into chocolates, which we're about to do. From here, I'm going to chunk this up and I'm going to put it in a 16-ounce Pyrex. That way I can melt it and be able to pour it nicely and neatly into my chocolate molds. These are 1/2 ounce cubes. They're ice cube molds. Now that we have our chocolate, the best way to do this, if you don't have a knife to cut up your chocolate, is to put it in several Ziploc bags. You can hit it with a meat tenderizer if you have one of those. You can hit it with a hammer, or you can hit it with a rolling pin. It doesn't matter, provided you just get enough, the piece is small enough that when you melt it, it only takes about a couple minutes to actually melt the chocolate. When we come back, I will show you what the chocolate will look like in the microwave as we are melting it. So my filling in the fridge is getting really nice and cold to the touch. So I'm going to start doing the outer layer of chocolate to melt. If you got a fancy microwave, there's a melt function. When you press the buttons, it goes beep, boop, boop, beep, and you do that. Honestly, do that a little at a time. After 30 seconds, stir. 30 seconds, stir until it melts. And the best thing to use with that is a spatula, just like with the inner filling. As you can see, first 30 seconds doesn't really do anything. So just kind of mix it up a little bit and we're gonna pop it in for another 30 seconds. So far it's been a minute, and as you can see from the outside of the container, it is melting nicely. Just want you to know it's very difficult to stir and hold the camera at the same time. And another 30 seconds it goes. Once you have your chocolate melted, you're going to fill your molds about halfway full. If you have a little more, that's okay. If you have a little less, that's okay too. And if you didn't put enough in, you can always go back, add a little more. That's it, got the next one. So there will be some chocolate left over in your container. That will be okay, because what we're going to do is use that to fill the holes from putting in the fillings. Now that you put the chocolate in there, and get all the air bubbles out. And if you notice any that are kind of low, you can add just a little bit more chocolate. Level them out. If you notice that you have too much chocolate in one, it's okay. You can use a spoon and take a little out and put it into another one. The spoon will come in handy later for filling the holes that we're going to make. Next, we take our filling from the fridge. Whether you use a piping bag or a regular one, we're going to fill, stick the end inside and fill until the chocolate comes up part way. So I cut my tip off. As you see, the chocolate is expanding. We'll come back and I will show you how to doctor them up. Now that we've put our filling in, I'm just going to go back and put a little bit of the chocolate that's melted on top. And just kind of cover up that part of the chocolate. Make it look all fancy. Like a proper truffle. After this is done, we're going to make sure to clean our fridge out and put these in a spot where they won't be touched by anything else. And we'll let them cool and harden, and then we'll pop them out and we can make them extremely fancy if you want, or you can eat these as is. Now that our chocolates are set, just want to do like a normal ice cube mold and kind of loosen them up. Flip it over. You got your chocolates. So if you want to make these chocolates look extra fancy, and don't worry about all this scrap chocolate. I'll show you something really neat you can do with that in a second. Just brush it aside. So I'm now going to space these out nicely. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and heated up some heavy whipping cream and poured a couple tablespoons over some ruby chocolate. And this is a chocolate that's kind of citrusy. It's a little bit sour, but a little bit citrusy. What I'm going to do is same thing like I did with the filling. Take the bag, cut the tip off. I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to take the opportunity and drizzle it over the chocolate. Doesn't matter what you do. You could put people's letters. You could write out like Merry Christmas. You could write Happy Valentine's Day. You could write Be Mine. You could let your imagination just basically run wild with that. Write whatever you want, however you want. Be as sweet as you want. Be as goofy as you want. You could write nice butt on it. Doesn't really matter. Me, I'm just choosing to do some zigzags. Make them look fancy. And because you have a little bit of time before this dries, you can take the extra chocolate pieces that you have, take a few and just kind of sprinkle it. Make it look fancy that way. Like they do in some restaurants, they do in some artisan chocolate shops. You could take some sprinkles. These are my unicorn sprinkles. And just kind of decorate them that way. Just some sprinkles. You could take some edible dazzle dust. Doesn't matter what kind. Just be forewarned with this stuff. It can get a little crazy pretty fast, and it does like to kind of float around in the air for a little bit. So we'll do a few with those. You can dress them up for the season. Like these are gingerbread and blue and red sprinkles. You could sprinkle some like that. Make it look all fancy if you're taking these to a holiday party. You could get some red sprinkles and pink sprinkles and white sprinkles, and you can decorate them for Valentine's Day. You could take, so these are just plain white sprinkles, just to give it a little bit of contrast difference. Oh, come on. Just add a little bit. Don't mind me, I'm just fighting with that. Or you could leave them as is. But I will tell you one thing. These are absolutely delicious, especially with a cup of coffee. They have a crunchy outer shell and a very soft, flavorful filling. And if you plan on giving these as a gift, make sure it's at home, or if it's to a coworker, give it to them at the end of the workday. So just be forewarned that these are an adult treat. Keep them away from your kids, but eat up. They're really good.
At 29 and I find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10.